I'm going to make a maple praline semifreddo. And for this I need some praline, which I've already made. This is an almond praline, and some cream, maple syrup, the white of 1 egg, and a little pinch of salt. The first thing to do is to tackle my praline. Now it slides off the baking sheet. And for some recipes you might want a praline powder, in which case you'd break this up into chunks and pop it in a processor. But for this parfait, I want to have nuggets of praline in the parfait, so I'm going to chop it up. It'll shatter and splinter as I do it, but that's absolutely fine. If you really want to take out your stress after a hard day, you can even take a meat mallet to it, just not too hard, or else you'll have praline all over your kitchen. That looks about right to me. This can now sit aside and wait until the parfait is ready. Now for the semifreddo itself. We need to begin by heating up our maple syrup. Most of the maple syrup available these days is actually pure, but just double check, because if it says maple flavoured syrup, you've not got the real thing. While that's coming up to the boil, I'm going to whisk the egg white. Now, a semifreddo is more or less the same as a parfait. It's the Italian version. And what that means is it's a frozen mousse, and it does involve a lot of whisking. So in goes that egg white, and I'm going to add a pinch of salt. That helps increase the volume of the egg white, and an electric whisk. Now I have to say, I wouldn't actually do this recipe without an electric whisk, because you have to keep on whisking for a fair old amount of time. And I've whisked my eggs until they form firm peaks, and at the same time my maple syrup is boiling. And that is looking just brilliant. And you can sort of tell when it's more or less done, because as you're whisking, you'll see these beautiful patterns emerging in the egg white and maple syrup mixture. So that's our base made. And now it really has to cool down before I add the cream. My maple syrup and egg white mixture is nice and cold now. So it's ready to take the cream. And I'm going to whip some double cream just until it holds its shape loosely. And that, I think, is just about enough. You don't want to over whip it at this stage, because you've still got to fold it in to the mixture. Perfect. And this now goes into the maple syrup and egg mixture. And just fold it in lightly. And you know, the great thing about a parfait or a semifreddo, a frozen mousse, whatever you care to call it, is that unlike a normal ice cream, it doesn't need to be churned as it chills. You don't need an ice cream maker. You don't have to hang around. You can just put it straight into the freezer and leave it be. It's also almost soft enough to scoop straight from the freezer. And that is nicely folded in. It looks very, very enticing. And now, before I lose any more air, I'm going to add my praline. It does have a tendency just to lump together sitting in the bowl while it's waiting for you to use it. So break up the pieces first, and then put in, let's see, how much we put in of this. I think maybe that much, but this is something you can do really according to taste. Let's fold that in. I think we might as well get the last bit in as well, don't you? That's lovely. Now that's nicely mixed in. And again, I need to move on quickly before the praline starts to dissolve. And I've got here two alternative ways of freezing the praline parfait. You can either freeze it in little moulds like this, little individual moulds. Let's just get some in there right now. Lovely. Or if you preferred, you could just use something like a loaf tin and just put it straight into that and then slice it when you serve it. Let's carry on filling in our parfait. You can see that I've lined them with cling film, which means they'll be really easy to turn out. I love the clinking, clanking sound you get from the lumps of praline in here. And then let's scrape the rest into that loaf tin. Just want to get out any little pockets of air, get it smooth up to the sides, and those are all ready to go straight into the freezer, set to its coldest setting, where they'll take between 3 to 4 hours to set solid. Here they are, my little parfaits, now frozen firm, and to serve them, just get one, turn it upside down on your serving dish, just pull that cling film away from the sides, and then up comes the dariole mould, and off comes the cling film, and finish just a drizzle of maple syrup. And that is it, most delicious maple and praline semifreddo.